Thank you very much. Now, let me say something quickly to the gentlemen of the press. At the Omoluabi Standards Commission, we do things to global standards. And that's why we believe that we must make sure that professionally you have a fair understanding of what you are covering, as opposed to just, doing it because it's a profession. So let me just start by saying that we are giving to you a copy of this script. I think I've sent that to you. It should be sent to your phones. And I'll briefly mention that just exactly about 100 years ago, around this time, the average youth in this country was in a position that is very similar to what the youths are facing today. The winds of change were blowing across the world, just as it is now, and dark clouds had gathered over the horizon. Now, it's very interesting that Obafemi Awolowo was born in 1906 on the 6th of March. So by this time, 100 years ago, he was already 24 years old. He was orphaned. His father had died when he was about 6 years old. Now, his generation of youths were born into colonial bondage. And the colonial bondage had behind it the winning influence of our old monarchies of the ancient Oyo Kingdom. The colonial force has introduced a new way of life with advantages, but the advantages were restricted to the whites and a handful of blacks who were serving the colonial force. And if you look back, those were the blacks who had what they call a basic education, which was just enough to serve the colonials. On the background, we had a monarchical rule that had really nothing to offer the youths either, because life was changing across the entire world, and they represented a past that was moribund. Now, the young man called Obafemi Awolowo looked and saw that there is practically no hope, not only for himself, but for many youths like himself in 1918. I mean, if you go back to 100 years from where we are right now. And he decided to do something. And it is the something that he did that is the clue that we are giving the youths of today. Because right now again, global forces have clashed with local forces. We are operating so many socio-economic systems that are weighted against the African child. Wakes up hungry, wakes up in poverty. The average African child has no guarantee of service delivery and does not even, the life expectancy, for instance, in Nigeria is 53 point something, 54 point something years, life expectation. So it's a terrible vista, especially when you look from the perspective of the youth. What exactly are they looking forward to, because the odds are so much against them? And that's why we interrogated the architecture of thought that Awolowo used, and we have discovered that it was nothing new. We had to interrogate it all the way back to the 7th, 8th century to discover that actually it was Oduduwa who was a social engineer behind a civilizing program. It's a 360-degree affair. If you study it properly, you'll find out that it's an extremely sophisticated program. And in the days of Oduduwa, you will find out that the bronzes and the artifacts till today tell us that the Oduduwa era was ahead of pre-Renaissance Europe. In the time of Obafemi Awolowo, WNTV WNBS was the first television station in Africa, and it was opened in Ibadan here ahead of many European countries. So the truth is, if we can get this right, it's not the only civilizing program in Africa. You have the Ubuntu principle from South Africa. If you look around you, well, there's one called the Ujama from Tanzania. In Itorero is a cultural school that they have in Rwanda. But the difference is that the Omoluabi civilizing program has a greater degree of articulation, and we have the advantage that it has been tested and practicalized a number of times to show what it can do. What I'm just trying to point out to us here is that in the past, the mistake we made was that we tried to fit into socialism, democracy, and things like that, not realizing how unique the gift, the civilizing gift we had in Africa was. So we are not going to make that mistake again. We have looked ahead of Nigeria. We see what is coming. You are all witnesses to the winds that are blowing, the devaluation of human worth that's across the whole table today. So we believe that we've had the opportunity to share with our youth here the basics of that civilizing program, and we are trusting that from polytechnics, starting with them again, that civilizing program is going to find expression. I will just mention quickly what that civilizing program did in Bafemi Awolowo, what it produced. Don't forget that there was nothing on ground when the colonials handed over. There was nothing on ground. But using this program, Awolowo first started in 1945 in the UK with the Omoluabi. In 1948 in Lagos, he was able to, give it fresh life. Flanking him then in Lagos were people like Akinola Maja, Kofa Bayomi, Bode Thomas, Akoni Doati, and these names from the past, H.O. Davis and other patriots. In 1951, in the city of Ibadan here, the action group that you saw was actually fleshed out on the Omoluabi civilizing program. So what were they able to achieve is the interesting thing. Don't forget that as a premier of the Western region between 1954 and 59, Awo mapped out the route plan. Don't forget WNTVS himself was 1959, Liberty Stadium 1960, Wema Bode Estate 1962, Wema Bank 1945, Western House 1960, Cocoa House where we are right now 1965, Premier Hotel 1966, Cocoa Industries 1967, Epe Plywood Industries 1965, West African Portland Cement 1959, and I could go on and go on. I can tell you that the legacy and heritage that Awolowo's government left behind because of the Omoluabi civilizing principles is such that none of their progeny should be looking for a job today. So if this is revived and the young people, the younger generations are able to do what Obafemi and Co, Oduduwa and Co did when they were their age, then we should be looking forward to a glorious future where we can take our place as a foremost nation in the world.